Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Data Engineering Training Program. And as part of this training program, we are exploring different type of database services. Yesterday we explored few things like we started with exploring Glue, then we talked about Crawler, then we talked about Athena, and at the end we also talked about Redshift. Today we will be covering majorly two topics: RDS, that stands for Relational Database Service, and DynamoDB, and we'll explore these things in much more detail. So let's start the class with the agenda. So overview of RDS service. Launching an RDS instance of MySQL type. We'll talk about multi-AZ for RDS instance, and we'll also talk about read replica. Then we'll jump to the next topic, that is DynamoDB. We'll create our table in DynamoDB. We'll add items into DynamoDB table, read and write capacity, and read consistency. As we discussed yesterday, for different type of use case, for different type of requirement, a different database services may fit, and you should know about the pros and cons of these services. So let's start with RDS. Yesterday I was answering one of the doubt, that if we want Oracle or if we want Microsoft SQL Server, then how do we do that with Redshift? So Redshift is a native tool of AWS. If you want to keep your same database engine, suppose you are working with Oracle and you still want to keep that, the only thing is you are simply moving it to the cloud, then RDS service will help you. So RDS is a managed relational database service for MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, and SQL Server, etc. Basically all the common and famous databases are supported here, and you can choose from relational, key value, document, in memory, graph type database. RDS is not only about these Oracle and RDBMS. There are many more type. You can see that RDBMS is nothing but relational. Then we have key value type of database that we will be exploring, and there is a document type of database, graph type of database. So it supports variety of databases, and it continuously monitors your cluster to keep your workloads running with automated scaling. The ultimate purpose of migrating to the cloud is so that I don't have to worry about scaling, I don't have to worry about security, I don't have to worry about backup, recovery, and all that stuff. So all these things will be taken care by AWS. You never need to worry about the capacity of your database. And as a developer, you can focus on application development. AWS also provides high availability, reliability, and security. When we say high availability means, in case your application is critical, specifically for production, you can keep your RDS running into multiple regions, or you can say multiple availability zones, so that for the end user, in case unfortunately one server is down, your request will be immediately redirected to another server, and that may be adding the additional cost to you, but it all depends. If your application is critical, if it's a very sensitive application, if it's production, and if you want don't if you cannot afford that your server is down for half an hour, if that is the case, you can always go with a multi AZ solution as well. So we'll show you all these things. So you can see that these type of databases you can choose from. So MariaDB, Amazon Aurora. This Amazon Aurora is again like AWS product. Apart from that, Oracle is a third party tool. Microsoft SQL Server, Postgres, MySQL, and all these things are available. So let's do one thing. Let's go to my trial account. Let me quickly log in. Just give me a moment. I need to enter this code 996 996 227. Okay, so we'll be searching for RDS. So if you go on the left side, click on databases, you will not find any database, most probably. Okay, so there is no database for now. That's absolutely fine. Let's click on create database. You have to choose the database engine. So you can see that there is a standard create and there is a easy create. Standard create means you will get the options to configure everything. That includes availability, security, backup, maintenance, and everything. Or if you are in hurry and if you want to quickly create, and later on you can come back and you can change the setting. If that is the case, you can go with easy create as well. I usually go with standard create so that I have better control. I can better choose the options which I need. Okay, now engine option. That's very important. So we have Aurora, that's MySQL compatible, and that's completely like AWS product. And another Aurora is of PostgreSQL compatible. That's again AWS product. Apart from that, MySQL is a open source third party. MariaDB is open source. Oracle, Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, IBM DB2. Okay, I usually go with MySQL, considering that it's open source and it is free of cost available. You don't have to buy any license or don't have to pay anything for that. Right. On the right side, you can see that some message is displayed. Let's quickly have a look. MySQL is the most popular open source database in the world, and MySQL on RDS offers the rich feature of MySQL Community Edition with the flexibility to easily scale compute resource or storage capacity for your database. That's the benefit we will get. You can install MySQL on your personal laptop as well, but in that case, auto scaling won't be possible. But if you are installing MySQL on RDS, they will help you to auto scale the compute as well as the storage. In case your more queries are running and the capacity, the CPU power is less, it will increase in the backend. And similarly, if you're storing more data and your storage is almost full, it can add more storage behind the scene. So it can take care of auto scaling. And few more points are given here. If you want, you can always read this. Otherwise, we are good. So let's scroll down. And engine version, which engine version you are looking for, it will always select the latest version, MySQL 8.0.35. But you can click on that and you can find many more versions. So basically you may think like the latest is 3.9, right? But latest may not be stable. That's also an important thing, right? Sometimes latest can be a beta release, latest can be unstable. So it will always suggest you to go with a latest stable release. But in case you have a requirement, for example, you have a application and that's currently dealing with 8.0.32. Okay, and now you're planning to migrate that to RDS. So you do not want to do an experiment, you don't want to upgrade it because some query may start failing and all that stuff. Even if you want to upgrade, you have to do some research, you have to do some analysis, some risk assessment and everything. After that only you can migrate to a higher version. Otherwise, whatever version your application is currently working perfectly fine, you can simply choose that option. Okay, moving to the next detail, template. You want this for production. That means you will use high availability and fast and consistent performance. And one point you can notice is, if you go with production, you have multiple options available. Multi AZDB cluster. Cluster means multiple system, multiple instances basically. And those instances will be like in multiple availability zone and multiple systems will be there. And here you can say multi AZDB instance. That means only one instance. At one point of time, only one instance will be running. When we say cluster, that means more instances. Let's read this. Creates a DB cluster with a primary DB instance and two readable standby DB instances. With each DB instance in a different availability zone, provides high availability, data redundancy, and increased capacity to serve readlet. Basically, if you're going with production, it will give the option to deploy in a single availability zone or multiple availability zone. But if you go with dev and test environment, let's see, you see that again you are getting all the options. Sorry. But in our case, we will be going with the last option, free tier. we don't want to get charged for anything. So we'll click on free tier, and as soon as I will click on free tier, you will see that all these options are disabled. Because with free tier you can create one instance, that's possible, but you cannot go with multiple availability zone, multi AG solution. That's fine. Technically and conceptually you should be aware like what is multi AG solution and all. In your company, in your project, you may get a chance to create a instance for dev on test environment or even for production. Then you can explore multi AG environment. Okay, so I'm coming down, and DB instance identifier, nothing, that's just a name. I can say my RDS DB needed. Okay, and credentials, just like yesterday for Redshift, we specified some master username and master password. Same thing you can do. So I would say RDS underscore admin underscore user and password. If you want to go with AWS Secret Manager, that's the most secure. You can do that. But since we haven't talked about Secret Manager yet, so we'll not do that. You can go with self managed. That's also fine. You can provide some meaningful password here, and let me try that. Okay, and that's all. You can go with the default settings, like 20 GB. If you want auto scaling, right, you can see here. Auto scaling is provided. So you can specify some value like the max value, because suppose starting with 20, but up to what storage level it should go.